So you've all taken a pause. I appreciate that, and I hope hopefully you will appreciate it too. Um, so to go into a pause more fully, it is not just a break in activity. It can be a space actually where silence begins to speak. And in our mindfulness practice, we honor the pause. We can have formal meditation or informal meditation. But a pause is really a necessity in our life. It's the silence between words, the space where awareness expands, and in that awareness, our healing can begin. We begin to see our patterns more clearly, and this is why we sit in meditation. We realize how many of our actions come from unconscious habits or conditioned beliefs. And as this awareness grows, we begin to live more consciously, more from the heart, and more from our own true self that really contributes to our well being. And so the pause, in a sense, creates receptivity. It's that inner guidance that often goes unnoticed when we're rushing through life. It could be that gut feeling, that intuition, or it could be a spiritual guide or an inner knowing. But the deeper our pause, the clearer this guidance becomes. And so as we create more spaces for pause in our life, the more in tune we are to that. And we begin to experience life more fully. We can see, like we've talked about in the past weeks, the beauty of a smile or the beauty of a flower budding in the springtime that we're experiencing in the Northeast. And oftentimes these things are really missed when we're too busy to notice. So the pause teaches us to be present. And in that presence, even the simplest moments can become sacred moments, moments of awe where we kind of go, oh my gosh, look at that. And so it's important to recognize that pausing doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing with awareness. It means stepping out of the autopilot mode and entering this moment right now. And as we integrate pauses into our daily life, whether it's through meditation or just stopping periodically in the day, we begin to carry that space with us. And life begins to flow. We're no longer swept away by the currents of life. We become kind of a calmer center in the midst of activity. But all of this is lovely, you might be saying, but the reality is that pausing is difficult. And in part because we've been conditioned to associate idleness with failure. And this belief is deeply rooted in our work ethic. It was popularized by sociologist Max Weber in The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism all the way back in 1905. And Weber argued that the Western culture increasingly equated hard work with moral virtue and divine favor, reinforcing the idea that productivity is inherently good, while rest is rather suspect. And so over time, this ethos became secularized, embedding itself in our modern capitalism and the self-worth that we often attach to busyness. But here's the paradox. Our bodies and our minds aren't built for constant output. Prolonged busyness depletes us. It leads to burnout. It leads to brain fog and even to physical distress. So slowing down is about more than rest. It's about creating space. And pausing allows us to do at least three things that are important to our well-being. It allows us to listen to our inner signals. Our bodies are often telling us when something is off before our mind even resonates, even responds to it. So sleepless nights, fatigue, uncharacteristic irritability are cues that we need to hit the brakes. And that pause fosters creativity. In moments of idleness, our brains make unexpected connections. And that's why our ideas will often strike while we're in the shower or during a walk, or we wake up and instantaneously in the middle of the night and we have this very creative thought. It helps us to reconnect with our priorities. Pausing helps us to recalibrate and refocus on what truly matters, whether it's family, whether it's meaningful work, or our own personal growth. And most recently, last week, we've spoken about pausing to sense forage. And this helps to diminish our sense of overwhelm. We simply tap into our sensory awareness, which is always available. This is the beautiful thing. So we can just play the very simple, whether you call it a game or a practice, 5 things that you can see. You can do this with children. Children find this really fun. Count 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you're sensing through your sense of touch, 2 things that you're smelling, and 1 thing that you're tasting. And that immediately brings us into the present and reduces our sense of overwhelm. Another wonderful practice is 2 feet, 1 breath. And this practice can be practiced for so many of us that are in the caring profession that see patients, in between patients, feeling your feet on the ground, whether you're sitting or whether you're standing. This was actually created for physicians when they're going in between examination rooms with their hand on the doorknob to go in to see the next patient. It was recommended that they feel their feet on the ground. This reminds us of our connection that we have to Mother Earth and the balance that we have through this connection. And then feeling 1 conscious breath, just and elongating the exhale, which will help to flip the switch from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system. And so just as you're sitting or you're standing right now, consciously feel your feet on the ground, on the earth. Feel the gravity that connects us to Mother Earth. And then feel the breath as it enters your body. And release the breath very slowly through your lips if you like. And for those who are doing this practice to prepare for the next patient, you can kind of imagine that you're wiping the slate clean as you prepare to greet the next patient. So that's a very simple, very easy practice that can be done by anybody standing on the subway, standing on a street corner, any place. And then the STOP acronym, which is very simple too. Simply stop. Take a couple of breaths, slowly and consciously. Observe what's going on right now. What do I need? And being self-referential in this moment, what do I need? And then the P is proceed with greater clarity and focus. And this kind of breaks into routine. It develops a broader perspective, and it offers us a moment to just take care of ourselves. But we often encounter something greater than overwhelm or a little bit of anxiety over a particular incident. It could be an incident that really, really activates you. And this is also where a pause can be really beneficial. And so we're going to do a meditation on really dealing with an activating situation. And this is a practice that's recommended by Rick Hanson, who you've heard me speak of before. He's a neuropsychologist and author of Buddha's Brain. And Dr. Hanson suggests that imagine your mind as a garden. We can tend to a garden in 3 ways, he suggests. We observe it, we pull weeds, and then we plant flowers. So observation is fundamental. And sometimes that's all we can do. Perhaps something terrible has happened and you can only ride out the storm, so you can just simply observe. But being with the mind is not enough. We must work with it as well, he says. The mind is grounded in the brain, which is a physical system that doesn't change for the better on its own. Weeds don't get pulled on their own, and flowers don't get planted simply by watching the garden. And so there's 3 steps that Dr. Hansen suggests for dealing with really sticky situations. The first step is being with. And this also aligns with the attitudinal mindfulness foundation of acceptance. Being with whatever is happening inside you. And this doesn't mean that you have to like it. It's just simply being with whatever is here, whatever the difficulty might be. And then he suggests the second step. When it feels right, move into letting go. And you may have to repeat this several times. Letting go. And then we'll go through these steps in our meditation. But in the third step, it's letting in. And this is a feeling of reassurance that I have the capacity to move through difficult situations and support my own self. And so this is where we really build that base of resilience by reassuring ourselves that I've got this. I can deal with this. I can deal with difficulties. I can deal with my difficult emotions. And so let's move into a meditation. And for those of you that might be here that are new to meditation, when we meditate, we can stand, we can sit, we can actually do walking meditation. Many of you have done that. But checking in with yourself right now, you may have been sitting at your desk all day. And so it may be better for you to be standing for this meditation. But if you're sitting, we can lie down to meditate as well. But when we lie down, it's often a signal to the mind, to the brain, that we're going to go to sleep. And so we often become very sleepy in this position. So it's a position that you take when you feel alert. But in all of the positions, it's a position that we can relax into, but that we're alert. And so assuming that position right now, and we'll establish some anchors for our meditation. And we establish anchors so that if our mind becomes overwhelmed, whether it's by thinking or whether it's by a particular memory that's very distressing for you, you can return to your anchor. Your anchor is a present moment awareness. And so right now, taking a look around the space that you're in and just observing it, observing the colors, the shapes. And today, when there's sunlight, perhaps enjoying the sunlight, I'm looking out at some lovely light. Oh, unmute. Okay. Okay. I think we're good now. So to continue, just observing the space and then shifting to sound. Noticing what the sound is in your environment. And just noticing the different rhythms, the pitch, whether it's high or low. And I'll layer your sound with the sound of the bell. And just allow the vibrations of the bell to come to you and just follow them until they disappear. And so knowing that hearing is always present moment awareness, that you can simply return to what am I hearing if you feel overwhelmed. And then shifting to our sense of touch, noticing how our body touches so many different surfaces. Our feet to the floor, to the ground, and to the earth. The backs of our legs, our buttocks to the chair. Notice where your arms are resting. Your hands, what are they touching? This is all present moment awareness. And notice how the air that surrounds you touches your nostrils as your body draws it inward to breathe you. And so just following the breath for a moment, being aware that each breath is unique to this moment. There are no two breaths that are alike. And so our breath is a perfect anchor to bring us back into this moment. Just feeling the sensation of breathing, not thinking about breathing, but rather feeling the breath. And so now thinking about a situation that may have occurred in your life that left you stressed or hurt or angry. And on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe pick a situation that's a 5 or a 6, something that you can feel in your body, but not necessarily something that's going to overwhelm you. And so feeling that situation, and notice what is happening inside of you. In this step, we're being with whatever is occurring. We're not trying to push it away, to resist it. Tuning into our body to notice, where am I experiencing this emotion? It could, like I said, it could be anger. It could be sadness. It could just be stress and anxiety. Perhaps it's chest tightening or a sinking feeling in your belly. And try to accept your experience with kindness, even if it's uncomfortable. Be on your own side and have compassion for yourself. And you might say a few kind words like, "This is really difficult for me." Or you may place your hands where it hurts, maybe on your chest or your belly, wherever you're feeling this particular difficulty, this particular emotion. So kindness, acknowledging that this is part of being human, this feeling of emotion. These are my emotions speaking to me. And only when it feels right, move into the letting go phase. And in order to do this, you might take a few slow breaths. And as you exhale slowly, let any tension, any holding, drain away from your body. You can even imagine that it's draining through your body, outward through your feet, into the earth, allowing Mother Earth to hold it. As appropriate, release the emotions that you're feeling in your body. But you can continue to hold them as well, holding them through the touch of your hands. And it may also be helpful to you to imagine a river of light pouring through you and washing away any sadness, any anxiousness, any upset. And you may also notice that as you're working with your physical body, your mind continues with negative thought loops. These are quite common. And simply naming it as such, label it. Label it to tame it, or name it to tame it. Just saying to yourself, thought loop. And see if this helps you to disengage. And then there could be challenging beliefs that are exaggerated or untrue. And so thinking of a reason why they are wrong. We often believe we know exactly why somebody did something to us. But the reality is we have no idea. We can't get into their mind to assess that. And so by allowing those things to just let go of our righteous thoughts or our thought loops, and try to see the big picture. Reassure yourself that whatever happened is probably a short chapter in the long book of your life. Know how a problematic desire, such as wanting to lash out in anger, you may have the perfect retort in your mind, but that could hurt yourself or others. And although we take satisfaction oftentimes in doing that, we know that it's not kind. And so you might imagine holding that desire in your hand like a stone, and then dropping it into a pond, seeing the splash, letting it go. And so as it's right for you, letting go. And then when you're ready, the third step is letting in. We're planting flowers now. We've pulled the weeds. We're going to plant some flowers. And so recognize that you've come through something hard and appreciate yourself for doing so. Compliment yourself. You might say to yourself, I didn't do what I typically do. I didn't give in to my patterning that often gets me in trouble. So good for me. Appreciate yourself. And feel the ease, the relaxation that might be in your body as you really do compliment yourself like you would your own best friend or you would a child that's really done something quite differently than they typically would. They've really managed. And notice or bring to mind feelings that are natural replacement for what you have released. And notice that reassurance spreading inside as perhaps the tension, the anxiety begins to soften. And feel your body opening and softening. Feeling the expansive nature of this letting in, this third step. And so always knowing that as you do this practice, do it slowly. There's no rush. Stay in the first step of letting be, being with the difficult emotion, as long as you need to, until you can be with the second step, pulling the weeds, letting go. And then moving into the third step, planting the flowers in your garden of your mind. And so feeling your breath, perhaps feeling gratitude for each breath as it arrives, feeling gratitude for today, for the sunshine that we're experiencing, and for anything else that comes to mind for you. What am I grateful for? And then as we bring the meditation to a close, coming back to hearing. And before we close the meditation, setting your intention for the afternoon. What are the qualities that you might like to bring into your afternoon? Perhaps more curiosity, more self-compassion, more pausing. Whatever it might be, setting your intention for how you want to live the rest of your day. Perhaps kindness. And then hearing the sound of the bell as I ring the bell to end our meditation. Bringing some movement into your body.